Hi class, this is part 2 of 10A. Okay. Next thing we're going to study is a parallelogram. Parallelogram is like a rectangle that you've pushed on its side. The opposite sides are the same, 2 and 2, 6 and 6, but the angles are not right angles. Okay. So the perimeter is just like a rectangle, 2L plus 2W. So the perimeter is 2 times 6 plus 2 times 2. 12 plus 4 is 16 millimeters. Single. Okay? That's the easy one. The area, though, is a little bit harder because area has to have, for a two-dimensional figure, it has to have a right angle. So what I like to do for you is put in this base times, and that's a symbol for perpendicular, base times perpendicular height. Perpendicular making a right angle. So, and they have to intersect in a right angle, like a corner of your house. Okay, so it's base times perpendicular height. Well, you notice I've also identified this as a base, B for base. So here's a base. This is not a height. I don't see any right angle attached to that, but I do see a right angle here. And this right angle can be off of a corner. It can be in the middle. It can be on the outside with an imaginary line. But regardless, it's 1.5 centimeters. Okay? That 1.5 could be identified here or here or here. It makes no difference. So in this case, it's base times height, which is 9 millimeters squared. Okay? You have to have the height. Now the reason we didn't need the height in the square or the rectangle is they met in right angles. So that wasn't a problem. But here we have to create a height. You don't do it. I do it. I put in the height for you. If you want to do it yourself, take trigonometry. Okay. Hi, the next shape that we're going to look at is a triangle. Okay. Now, the formula for the perimeter of a triangle, like if you lived on a triangular block, no, come on, you walk, walk, walk. Now, your book calls those sides. So it's like side 1, 2, and 3 added together is not a big deal. But again, I'm going to change the name when we hit the area. I'm sorry. So I'll just call side 1 3 miles. It's a big area. Side 2 will be 4 miles. And side 3 will be 6 miles. I made up those numbers. They might not be pretty. Okay, so if I was going to add them, I'd say 3 plus 4 plus 6 is 13 miles because it's a singular unit. That's really simple. But now the area, that's a little bit harder. Again, you have to have a right angle, which is formed by a perpendicular. Okay? That's why I put in the red height there. So the height and the base, see, I've made it side 3 as well as the base. I could have made it side 2 as well as the base. It doesn't make a difference. But you can see that you must have a height perpendicular to a base. So side 3 must be the corresponding base to this height. So this height is 2 miles. You notice they all have to be the same unit. Okay. So this would be 1/2 the base times the height. okay? You may take 1/2 of 6, or 1/2 of 2, or 1/2 of 12, but you may not, listen to this, you may not take 1/2 of 6 and 1/2 of 2. That would be wrong, okay? So I'm just going to go 6 times 2 is 12, and then take 1/2 of 12 and make it 6. This is area, so it's miles. Think about it. What are you going to put? Squared, okay? Now, this is called a scalene triangle. It's also, maybe if this angle was more than 90, say it's 95, then it's a scalene obtuse triangle. If it's less than 95, it's scalene acute, okay? This is a right angle, okay? So that has different rules. And you notice I put in that perpendicular, okay? So this is 3, this is 4, and this is 5. And we'll call it yards. Yards, yards, okay? They all have to be yards, okay? So for the perimeter, 3 plus 4 plus 5 is 12 yards. Simple. Now the area, 1/2 the base times the perpendicular height, okay? You have to decide which 2 sides are you going to use, okay? You're going to use 3 and 4 because 3 and 4 meet in the perpendicular. Okay? That's why. The 5 does not play into the area, okay? Do you know what the 5 is called? 5 has a special name. It's opposite the right angle, so that 5 is called the hypotenuse, Greek, O-T-E-N-U-S-E. You can only have a hypotenuse in a right triangle. You do not have a hypotenuse here, okay? Because you don't have a right triangle on the outside sides, okay? So, 1/2 the base, 4, times the height, 3. I'm going to take 1/2 of 4 this time and get 2. 2 times 3 is 6. This is an area, so it's yards squared. Okay? Any question on that? Be sure and send it to me. I'll be with you in a second. Okay, last or second to the last section, depending on the time. Okay, I have a right triangle here, okay? And I would like to know this side. Now, I just told you that in a right triangle, the side opposite the right angle, is called the hypotenuse, okay? So the question is, how big is the hypotenuse? Now, this is one of the few formulas that is your favorite from geometry, okay? Remember him? Greek philosopher, right? Greek mathematician, Pythagorean, Pythagorean. I'll just say Pythag. And remember that? It's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And we always use little letters for sides, okay? In fact, if I called that angle A, then this would be side A. If I called this angle B, this would be side B. C is always, always, always the hypotenuse. That's an A. Okay, so in this case, I want to find C. Not c squared, but c. But I have to go through c squared. So this time, I'm going to go 5 squared plus 4 squared equals c squared, okay? You must complete all the calculations. 5 squared is 25. 4 squared is 16 equals c squared. So now 25 and 16 is 41 equals c squared, okay? You might think that's wonderful, however, you're not done. You have to find the square root of c squared. So, my calculator is right here. So the square root is on top of the x squared on both calculators, the x squared button. So it's the second x squared. So what you're going to do is you're going to go second x squared, okay, and you should have the square root. You should have something that looks like this in your display. And it will prompt you, I think, with a parenthesis. And you drop in your 41 and you close the parenthesis and hit enter, and you're going to get 6 point something, okay? The square root of 41, that's a nice number, I like it. You can also give me the decimal, which is 6.40. That would be okay too, okay? So, I like this answer. I like this answer. Okay. But now, if you had a problem like this, and you thought, oh, A, B, those are always the smaller sides, and you thought C, and tried to use Pythagorean's theorem on this, I would mark it wrong, because there is no evidence of a right angle, okay? Now, if, by the same token, I put that in, then this could become your base, and this is your height. And you could use Pythagorean's theorem for that, okay? So that's it for the first part of 10A. There'll be 2 links for that, and I'm going to cover solids, which start on page 585 reading. And I took those problems out of the 10A assignment and I put them in with the 10B assignment, the solids. We'll do those on the next video. That's it, class.